this week I'm joined by registered nurse, cosmetic injector and businesswoman Alex Pike, a remarkable woman that I also had the pleasure of talking to offline. I got to know her and her background, and she brings an amazing amount of experience. During the interview, Alex and I discussed how beauty affects all trees of life, including the tree of love, family, and of course, health. We also get personal, and she opens up about her past experiences in modeling and her journey to self-love and acceptance. She's an avid journaler, and she also shares her meditation routine. Really a holistic look at beauty and aging. So please sit back, relax, and enjoy episode 3 with Alex Pike. Hello, and welcome to this week's episode of A Higher Branch in what is our third and final part on the beauty and face aging series. This series has been extremely popular, and today, to wrap it up, we have the incredible Alex Pike on our program. So hello, Alex.
Hi, Sam. Thank you for having me.
It's a real pleasure. Now, before we get into it, just a little bit background for people that don't know you. You have 15 years experience as a registered nurse, specialising in plastic surgery nursing.
Yes, that's correct.
Because nursing is quite broad, right? So plastic surgery is highly specific. And now you got into nursing after studying journalism.
So I wanted to be a journalist. I was actually a teenage model.
Yes.
So I was signed to an agency very early on as a 12-year-old in Sydney, Chadwick's Model Management. And I wanted to become a journalist from my experience in the modelling industry.
Wonderful. Now, in 2005, you opened up your own clinic called the Face Clinic.
Yes.
In Albury.
Yes.
And in 2019, you were voted the most popular face injector.
I was actually voted the most favourite.
Most favourite
injector, Victoria. Yes.
By Plastic Surgery Hub Australia.
That's correct.
Okay, which is a pretty good honour to have. And you also worked with the famous Dr. Brian Mendelsohn.
I did.
And that was your dream job that you landed in 2005, wasn't it?
Yes, it was my dream job.
Yeah.
Yes.
Now, coming from a modelling background from the age of 12, why was it your dream job?
Well, I feel the modelling was also a dream. It was a pretty big deal to be signed by Chadwick's at that time, and I was in a competition called Dolly Covergirl, and I was travelling to Sydney every school holidays for modelling jobs, and I was in a lot of teen magazines. Yep. And I was immersed in the beauty industry so young. Everything was about beauty. Everything was about my looks and how I took care of myself and my diet and my skin. And I feel like the longer I stayed in it, the more I didn't like myself.
Okay, that's interesting. Now, as well as a former model, you are also a super mum to 3 beautiful boys.
I am.
It's Hudson, Spencer and Jim.
That's correct.
And I've seen their photos. They're absolutely gorgeous boys.
They are beautiful. The older one does want to model.
Right.
Yeah, he wants to be a slashy, which is a model/doctor.
Oh,
so we're really...
Is that what they call it now, a slashy?
They've always called it a slashy. If you're a model and you have another profession, you're a slashy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. So is that, this program, this series of podcasts is all about the beauty industry, the psychology of beauty, and I'm completely fascinated by how our face, right, represents 99% of what we perceive to be beauty, and we're going through this era where people are obsessed with beauty, and I don't mind that. I know you found that the modelling industry was obsessed, was obsessed obviously with the commercialism of beauty, the commoditizing of models. But there is no doubt that as humans, we have a natural affinity with beauty. I mean, we look at a beautiful flower, we look at a child and say, beautiful eyes, or a beautiful dog, beautiful puppy, a beautiful person. So it's actually natural. And I want people to know that you being attracted to beauty is completely natural, and you should not feel guilty about looking at a beautiful person, a beautiful child, a beautiful flower, a beautiful puppy, whatever it is. So if we have this, primal instinct to be attracted to beauty, then it stands to reason that how we view our own face has a deep impact on our emotions. And the reason why I became fascinated with this area is because how I saw my own daughter, who's now coming on to her 17th birthday, how her whole day and her whole week was shaped by how she felt about her face. And I wanted to know more about it, and I researched it, and I met with Dr. Joseph Hakik, who we both had dinner with last night, and I learned so much from him. And also met with Maria Cocciolone, who's the CEO of Cosmetics, and completely excited really to talk to you then even deeper about, I want to talk to you about the emotional aspects. I want to talk to you about the nutritional, because last night I noticed you didn't drink any alcohol and you were sharing some of your health protocols that I want you to share with a lot of the people that are listening. And lastly, I want to know what your beauty routine is, the topical. Sure. So the emotional, the nutritional, and the topical. But I want to start with the emotional. And I want to know a little bit about your journey in the beauty industry, if you like.
Sure.
And how you feel about it, and why you think beauty is so important. And more importantly, you said you discovered your inner essence.
Yes.
That is beyond your physical beauty.
I feel like because I was a model for so many years, even when I was studying to be a nurse and working as a nurse, I really feel like there's always been this parallel with me with beauty and with caring about people, because it led me into a profession that is about caring. And in my practice, I am very interested in women's. My practice is predominantly women. I do treat some men, but predominantly women, and I care about their well-being. So, you don't go into a profession like nursing unless you are a caring person. So I do care.
Yep.
When I was about 23, a plastic surgeon had suggested to me that maybe I could get my frown lines treated with some Botox. And I felt, I didn't really think I needed it done. However, I was quite curious, and I had the treatment, and 5 days later, when the Botox had started to work, I realized, wow, I'm going to become an injector. I couldn't believe how much fresher I looked. The oil in my skin was less. It was just this overall glow. And I was like, oh, wow, how can I actually keep doing this for a long time? So I felt like on that day I decided I want to become an injector, and I made that my path, and I stayed in plastic surgery nursing and went down that path.
You've been around in this industry for a long time as an injector. And I noticed in the last few years there's a lot of amateurs that are starting to enter, because there's no barrier to entry. Basically, in a week you can become a face injector.
In 2 hours.
In 2 hours. Well, that's scary, because from what I learned from Dr. Joseph, this is an art form. You need to be a sculptor. You really need to understand the face. And based on what I heard you and Dr. Joseph talking about, I started realizing that we need to bring this information out to people.
Sure.
Because a lot of people can go get treated by the wrong person, end up with disastrous impact. And no doubt you've seen a lot of people who have come to you after they've been treated.
I most definitely see it a lot. There are certain clinics that offer much cheaper prices, and I feel with the younger women, the rise in social media and what we call the Kardashian culture. They see these beautiful photos on Instagram. They feel it can be replicated in these clinics and they go in and they're sold a package.
Yeah.
And it's a very cookie cutter approach. And it's not specialized for that individual. And, you know, you could be 22, 23, and you come out with your cheeks done, your chin done, your lips done, and you look very, very different to the way you looked before, because a 22 or a 23-year-old woman doesn't need that much adjustment. Yep. Because it's about just small enhancements and tweaks. So yeah, I do see a lot of women that come back to me and they are very overdone, and often their friends or partner has said, wow, you know, they're not happy with the way their partner looks. And there's a lot of judgment around that.
Yeah. What do you say to young women who are thinking about it and don't have frown lines, have a perfectly natural face, but they come in and say, well, I want my lips to be super huge. And I've seen some people who look grotesque in restaurants, right?
Yes.
I think, you know, they're starting to all look the same.
Yes.
They lose their features, and it's to me, that's not normal. That's not what beauty is.
No. So firstly, I say you've come to the wrong injector, because that's not my vibe. So when I inject a patient, they're representing my brand. So I like my patients to, say, be in the grocery store and they haven't seen their friend or a cousin or whoever in a while, and they say, wow, you look great. Not really being able to pick if they've had any treatment at all. So my approach is exceptionally conservative.
Yep.
I do small amounts. I take them on a journey and I start them off very, very slowly. So we might do the facial assessment. I start getting to know them. I ask in my practice deeper questions about their health and about their alcohol intake and their relationships. So I kind of spend a little bit more time with them getting to know the real them. And it's not just about the external.
The motives, their motives?
Their motives, yeah, because there's a lot of self-esteem issues. This industry does attract patients that have body dysmorphic disorder, or BDD. So we're very careful with our patient at that first consultation to see what's actually going on behind just asking to get your lips done.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. So have you ever said no?
All the time. All the time.
So what is a deal breaker for you then, for some people? What do you say no to?
Well, sometimes if they've sort of, we use the clinic shopping, so they've been around to lots of different places, and they've had lots of different things, and it's harder to bring someone back from that. We do use a product that we can dissolve overdone lips, and I do a lot of dissolving in my practice. Specifically lips, I'm very, very funny about lips, because it is that telltale sign that you've had work done.
Yes.
And I just feel there's nothing really sexy about looking like you've got a face full of filler. It's just not my vibe. I don't want to look like that, and I don't want my patients to look like that. That's
beautiful.
So if my patient, I say to my patients too, and I think we touched on this last night. Your wife had mentioned that she'd had something done and she waited to see if anyone noticed. It's really good that no one did notice, because...
By the way, that was news to me.
I know it was. It was actually quite amusing. So if your friends and family notice that you've had treatment, it means you look weird.
Yes.
I want my patients to look fresh. I like to empower women, and I like... You know, we shouldn't be apologising for wanting to look better. There's nothing wrong with that.
Okay, so you see nothing wrong with it.
No.
It's just the extremes to what people go to.
Exactly.
But what is more important? So wanting to look better is obviously nice. Now, obviously some people are not happy with the way they look.
Yes.
And you get those people, you give them the result, and then suddenly they're self-esteem increases, their confidence, and it fixes the issue.
For a moment.
Okay, for a moment. So tell us a little bit about the psychology, because for some people, then it doesn't fix the underlying issue.
No.
Right. So do people then need to work on themselves emotionally?
And that's what I am about. So on my own journey through modelling and having probably low self-esteem, and surrounded about my looks. I think it started with that. I went on more of a journey of self-discovery and, getting back into my heart and starting to treat myself like a friend, being healthy, starting to learn how to meditate, long, exercise, long walks, getting back into nature. And in my practice, I do start to really try and inspire and empower women to really start enjoying their lives, but from that level as well. And that also transcends into the way they feel about themselves and they're more accepting of themselves as well.
So overlaid on that, they can then have work done.
Yeah.
And it's overlaid on a foundation of confidence in themselves, self-love.
Yes.
Where their body trusts them.
Yes.
Because you can't have late nights, smoke, drink coffee, alcohol, and destroy their inside and then just go and get filled up, right?
Yeah.
That's not the approach.
Well, it's also because everyone's going to age. From Claudia Schiffer to Cindy Crawford, no one gets out of it.
But can we delay it as much as
possible? We
can,
yes.
Right.
And there's nothing wrong with wanting to either.
Yes.
But we have to look after our insides as well. And, when we look at the aging process, I say, very simple way. You have bone, which starts to shrink, and you have muscle that begins to waste. And then we're born with all these beautiful fat pads, and they start to descend. And what happens is that the tablecloth becomes too big for the table.
Yep.
So a lot of what I do and Dr. Joseph does is we revolumize the face.
Right.
And we put in building blocks to lift the cheeks and make the chin more in alignment with the whole face. Very small increments, and that works really beautifully. And then you have the blanket that covers it, which is also can be very sun damaged, specifically in this country. There's been a lot of sun damage done when we're really little kids, when our parents didn't really lather us with sunscreen as much. So I see a lot of that as well. So I treat the skin as well, because there's no point doing all of the Botox and fillers if the blanket that's covering it all, doesn't have a beautiful tone or color. We do the color correction as well in the skin. So that's very important as well. And then that really comes back to diet, hydration, and being very healthy.
Yeah, you're big on hydration, aren't you?
Yes.
So you were telling me last night that you went on a diet which involves drinking 3.7 litres a day?
Which is a gallon, yes.
A gallon of water?
A gallon of water. It was an American program.
Okay.
Yes.
Why did you do it? And what was how does that impact? So was it about the face, or was it about something else?
It was about mental toughness. It was a mental toughness challenge, which I have completed 3 times. And in the component of this particular challenge, you have to drink that amount of water every day. And what I noticed, the program goes for 75 days. And what I noticed by the end of it was just how clear my skin was. Just flushing out those toxins and having that hydration. I'd never drank that much water. I was a bit of a fan of diet. I could probably drink a litre, but I wasn't drinking enough.
I'm going to drink some water.
I will too. So that my skin was really good from the program, and my eyes were brighter, and and you can't drink on the program either. So I had some very long stints of sobriety, and I just kept looking better and better and getting healthier. But what also happened from the program is that with the discipline and the daily discipline, I started to feel better about myself.
Yep.
And I was proud of myself.
Yeah, yep. Because you've it's about empowerment, isn't it, really? So I'm in control of the things I can control. Like I can sleep more, which impacts the face. I can drink more water. I can eat more plant-based food. Less processed food. You can control the things that you can. It makes you feel good.
Definitely.
So is the approach to work on those things that you can control, get yourself to a baseline, and then say, okay, I've done the most that I can to look beautiful. So now it's time to go get a consultation.
Yeah.
And so it's good to work on the emotional first, I guess, to feel empowered about, controlling what you can, and then go to that next level. I think that's, for me, it sounds like the best way really to approach face aging rather than the other way around. And you mentioned earlier that, well, we're all going to grow old, right? And we have a program being released soon by Carl Honore. I don't know if you remember Carl.
Yes, we spoke. Yeah, he was. Yeah. I've read his book too.
Yeah, he's amazing, right?
Amazing.
He's 50-something, but when you hang out with him, you
so
feel like
fun.
you're hanging out with a 15-year-old. He's just full of
he's
enthusiasm
really lovely
for life.
Yeah.
And I like his approach to aging, boldly, as he calls it, it's owning it. And but I fear that there's a lot of people that are so worried about aging that they especially like my daughter who's 17 said to me, I'm so scared to get older. And I said, why? And she said, as you get older, you're not going to be as beautiful, right? And your face changes. She's petrified of it, right? Like, what's gone wrong here? Like,
it's crazy, but even like I meet 23-year-olds.
Yeah.
And I've been treating them for a few years, and I'll be doing their anti-wrinkle injections or their cheeks or whatever I'm doing. And we have these conversations, and they'll say, I've got my birthday coming up, and I say, oh my gosh. And they say things like, I'm turning 25, I'm getting so old. And I mean, if you cannot at 25 realize how amazing and beautiful you are. Yeah. I mean, I would love to be 25 again, but what they don't realize is if they start taking care of themselves, mind, body, and soul, life just gets better and better. I mean, I've never been fitter, I've never been happier, I've never been more grounded. I love life. And, I never thought I'd say that, but...
And you do get injectables, don't you?
I do.
Yeah,
yes.
you do.
I do. I get everything done.
Yeah, but you're happy. You look in the mirror and you're happy.
I'm really happy.
Yeah.
I feel like any woman, after I've had 3 babies. So my body is not what it was, and I do have high standards, but I know that with my diet and with my routine and with my disciplines, that I'm in really good shape. And I'm not just in great shape. I don't like when people say, oh yeah, she's really good for her age. No, I'm just really good. I don't want to be pigeonholed into that. Once you tell someone your age, they put you in a little box, and they, there's a lot of judgment around age.
You're talking Carl's language here.
Yeah.
So Carl, if you're watching or listening.
Hi,
Carl. So that's a really beautiful message, because I think the saddest thing to witness is someone who's beautiful to look in the mirror and see all the faults.
Yes.
Rather than all the beauty.
Yes. But I'm a big one for gratitude. So every morning, I do a gratitude list when I set my intentions for the day.
Can you share with us what that?
There's a lot of things, but one of the things is, I'm very grateful for my body, and I'm very grateful for my beauty. And I've learnt over time, with the help of coaches and self-development, to really get back into my heart and love myself. And it's very, very important.
Yeah. So you mentioned earlier that you're going on a spiritual journey at the moment to look within.
Yes.
What caused that? Did you have a defining moment? Did you go through any tough times?
I have been through some tough times in my early years, and unfortunately used alcohol and drugs in my early life, and hurt myself a lot. So yeah, absolutely. It was a self-discovery journey. Is it
because when you're young you feel you're invincible and you feel like, oh, nothing can hurt me, it's just a bit of fun and I'll bounce back?
Yeah, it was sort of like with the modelling at such a young age came some unwanted attention from older men. And I feel there was a little bit of shame around my beauty for a time.
Really?
Yeah. Because,
can you elaborate on that? What do you mean by that?
Well, I mean, there was just at some point incident with an older man that caused me to sort of feel maybe I had brought that on myself, or maybe if I hadn't looked a certain way.
Yes.
And I feel like instead of dealing with it, as I was a 14-year-old girl, and I probably didn't have the skills to deal with it, I ended up hurting myself a lot with alcohol.
So is beauty a curse then?
No, I don't think so. I mean, it just...
Because you attract the wrong people as well.
Sometimes you do, yes. And being in the modelling industry, you know, you are made to look a lot older.
Yeah.
As a young woman. Yeah.
So, what would you say to, you know, your younger self, or to the 14-year-old beautiful girl that's listening to this at the moment, or 16-year-old or 17-year-old? What would you say to your 14-year-old self now?
I would say to my 14-year-old self to trust myself, and to love myself and not be scared.
So how do you love yourself then?
Well, I think it's the daily things that you do. I mean, being a good person, caring about people, having integrity, you know, being able to look into the mirror and know that you've done the right thing is very important.
I was going to say, you mentioned the things you do daily. So what does your daily routine look like? And has it changed over the years? And what can you share with people about the best daily routine? You know?
I'm very regimented in my routine.
Yeah, I love that. So
I wake up very early because I have 3 children, and once the day starts, it's extremely busy. So I wake very early and I meditate, and then after I meditate, I set my intentions for the day and do my gratitude, and then I get all of the kids ready for school, and then I walk for between 7 and 10 kilometres every morning. And I make sure I get into nature. And I really make sure that I stay very present in that moment. I don't look at my phone. I have it on Do Not Disturb. I look at the wind in the trees, and I just try and really stay in that moment and be in nature.
Yes.
Yeah. Nature's very important to me. And it's even been really way more important in COVID.
Yes.
Yeah, just having to stay at home more. I've really enjoyed getting out into the fresh air. It's been amazing.
That's beautiful. So that's your morning routine?
Yeah, I mean, if I lived in a place like Sydney, I would make sure I got into the ocean anytime I'm in Sydney or near the ocean. I make sure I get right in and put my head under.
So you drove up from Albury.
I did.
To be in Sydney for the next few days, and thank you for coming up.
Oh, it's my pleasure. It's so exciting to be here.
And you mentioned you did the Bondi to Coogee walk.
Yes, I did. I always do.
So if you lived in Sydney, that's what you would do every morning?
Absolutely.
Yep.
Yeah, or something like that.
Yeah, so would you swim in the ocean even though
I haven't had a chance yet, but I will be either today or tomorrow.
Okay. So what does your routine look like at the end of the day? And also, actually, before we get to that, what's your morning beauty routine look like?
Well, I'm big on active skincare. So I do cleansing.
Yeah.
And I'm not a makeup person. I've had my makeup done today because you guys are filming. Yeah. But I really don't like wearing makeup, and so my skin quality has to be really good. So I've worked on the pigmentation with high-grade medical peels that we do in clinic. I use a vitamin C in the morning, quite a strong one. Right.
What does that do?
It corrects the colour.
Yep.
And it really stimulates the skin. And it's a bit tingly. They're quite active ingredients.
Okay. Yep.
It makes the skin look brighter.
Right.
And then I use a moisturiser and a sunscreen. Mm-hmm. And then at nighttime, I cleanse again. And then I use a vitamin A product. Now, vitamin A is like laser in a serum, and it turns the skin cells over. So if skin cells are like a little piece of garlic, and they all sit on top of each other.
Right.
So we need to get rid of the old cells for the new cells to come through. So your friend who owns Cosmetics, they have a beautiful vitamin A serum.
Yes.
Yes. So vitamin A is very, very important. And
at night.
At night time.
Vitamin C in the morning.
Yes, because at night, because vitamin A makes you photosensitive, so you can't use it in the day because you will burn.
That's a very good point.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then I use a beautiful moisturiser. And so once a year, maybe every 6 months, I'll do a higher grade peel that will work to take away, a few layers.
Right.
And I take it right down to the décolletage, because the neck and the deck is very important too.
Why?
Well, because it's okay to look all great up here, but you want your neck and your décolletage to match your face.
Yes.
So a lot of women they only do the face, and they forget about their hands as well.
Yes.
Yes.
I'm thinking about it now.
Are you?
That's the areas.
So that's pretty much my routine. It's pretty simple.
Yeah.
I've written blog posts on vitamin A and vitamin C. I'm a big fan.
Now, just to digress a little bit,
Yeah.
I don't know if you watched the Jim Jeffries latest special.
No.
But in his stand-up routine...
I love stand-up comedy.
Yeah, me too. So I like to watch comedy every night before I go to bed. And in it, he mentions... and I started thinking, well, maybe there's some scientific basis for this. And he's saying his skin is flawless and he doesn't have anything on there.
Wow.
And so he made the point, he said, if you keep, treating the skin to all these amazing things, and he said, women, when they forget to put those things, they go, oh my God, my face is going to shrivel up if I don't rush home and put this cream or that cream. And he said, well, maybe if you leave your skin to do its job, it'll do its job. Whereas if you're always helping it, it switches off. So is there some truth to that?
To a degree, I think.
Yeah.
I think it's, I think hydration is very important, but we discussed this with the water.
Yeah.
But you want, I've been a little bit lazy with my skincare routine in the last few days, and I have noticed that it's a bit drier because I'm not putting the moisture in.
So your skin, once you become reliant on these topical creams,
yeah,
it does switch off some activation that the skin naturally has?
I think
or
it
you don't
can,
know? Yeah.
but what I find is if I'm using a particular product for a period of time, the skin gets a bit used to it. And even with my patients, we mix it up. We switch brands for them. So even like the vitamin A, because I'm very simple in my approach, but I'll say to them, you know what, you've been on that vitamin A for a while, let's switch it to another brand, and this skin reacts better. So I think you can get a bit, because it's new, and it might have a little bit more or a little bit less, but I think switching it up is good too.
So it's funny, our cells crave variety like we do emotionally as well. We can't eat the same foods every day, go the same path, go to the same places.
Yes, and you notice when you are being poor with your diet and drinking too much alcohol, how sluggish and tired you feel. Food,
so let's look at the nutritional from the inside out then. What's your diet look like? What's the best diet for great skin?
I think
What's good for the skin?
Fresh food.
Are there any particular foods?
Well, of course. I mean, all of the foods that are the superfoods, like I green juice every day. I do not miss
What's
a
in your
day.
green juice?
My green juice is kale and spinach and cucumber and celery. And I usually put some citrus in there as well and some ginger. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Does it taste all right?
It's pretty gross.
It is. It sounded gross, actually.
I think kale in anything is just, it's such a strong flavour.
Yeah.
But it puts that body into that alkaline state. So it's better, it is better for your complexion. Good. I can't go a day without it. I love it.
What about bone broth?
I like bone broth. Yeah.
But is it good for the skin?
Well, it's good for the skin, but it's also good for you if you're doing a bit of a cleanse.
Yeah.
To give your digestion a rest, so then your body has a chance to clear the toxins out.
Right.
So that's why I would use a bone broth if I was doing some sort of cleanse.
Okay. So how does my face look like?
You look great. You've got great genes.
No, don't just say that.
It's so funny when I'm with people or friends or acquaintances.
They're
like, some people say, stop, don't look at me. Just, like they think that I'm actually assessing their face. And I don't do that.
Because I was absolutely blown away. I had I forget what they call it, a scan of the face where they go into the layers.
Yes.
Right. So as a child, I played hours of cricket, right, in the sun, and my parents didn't put, sunscreen on.
Our parents did not do that.
And I've been told, like, for my chronological age, my biological age is really, really good.
Yeah.
But what I saw under that scan absolutely petrified me because it picks up all these brown spots that are ready to come through.
Yes.
So recently I've been contemplating getting something called microneedling.
Yes, we do that in clinic.
So let's talk about that. Do you have that diagnostic?
I don't have it, no.
Right.
But we actually refer on to other clinics for that.
So how do you diagnose whether someone is aging underneath that layer? And because you know how you can have growth spurts as a child, you can also have aging spurts as you get older, right?
Yes.
Sometimes you'll meet someone 6 months later, you think, what's happened.
There's a variety. It could be stress, could be hormonal, plays a huge role. I notice in women that have just given birth and then breastfed, and they're tired, they're getting up to a baby in the middle of the night. They age very quickly.
Well, you've done it 3 times.
Yes.
You look great.
But you get it back.
You get it back.
But just in that period, hormonally, I think you're very depleted, and they go through this period where they think, I've had women say, a man's never going to look at me again.
Really,
they were quite attractive and empowered, and after the birth and the breastfeeding and the late nights, they feel that they've just lost it forever.
So can you reverse aging, face aging?
Well, you can slow it down for sure. I mean, specifically with anti-wrinkle injections, if it's a roadblock to the muscle, so we inject tiny increments of a purified protein into the skin or into the muscle, and it acts as a roadblock, so you can't frown, you can't make that dynamic wrinkle anymore. Yeah. So there's dynamic wrinkles and then there's static wrinkles. And if you don't treat your dynamic wrinkles with a product like Botox, over time they become static wrinkles and they're just there all the time. So you permanently look cranky.
Yeah.
Or you've got your laugh lines.
Yep.
So we try and get them early. Yeah. I started, because I was modeling, I started having injections early, and I don't have any lines on my face, and I'm not telling you how old I am.
So it's also preventative then?
Yes.
It's not just a cover-up,
it
prevents.
Is preventative.
I love that. Okay,
so
that's an important point.
Tiny amounts. So if a young woman comes into my practice, we have recommended doses for areas. So there's a recommended dose for the frown, for the crow's feet. With a woman who is in her early 20s, I would half that dose. I call it baby Botox.
Right.
So they don't develop the lines, but they're not just being frozen either, because they shouldn't be frozen.
Right. But so there's the lines, but then there's also the spots.
Yes.
So how do you treat spots?
Well, you need different products. So you have different modalities.
Can you treat spots?
Yes, you can. So there's different lasers to treat spots.
Right.
For deep pigment or for some types of pigmentation, you can use a 532 wavelength laser, which is called a Q switch. Lasers, I've owned lasers. I don't have, I had 3 clinics at one stage, and I ended up not keeping the lasers.
Right.
Lasers, it's very specific, and my passion is injecting. So I refer on to dermatology practices mainly for lasers, because I want my patients to get the best of the best, and if I can't give it to them, I'd rather send them on. So for pigmentation, you can do brightening serums, you can do even needling can sort of break up and repair collagen, so that kind of fades things a little bit. You can go more extreme with laser treatments. Fractional laser treatment would actually takes a few layers off. Q-switch lasers can go a bit deeper. And then you've got other products that are high-grade medical peels, which you would need 5 to 6 days at home, and you would have like a beard of skin peeling off.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Is that painful?
Not at all, but very effective. But it has to be done in a very medical setting.
Right.
They're medical grade peels.
So young people are really not that concerned with pigmentation.
No.
So that's all about lines.
Yes.
And filling those lines.
And enhancing.
But then as someone gets older, say over the age of 45, they're starting to get pigmentation and lines. Yes. Then you need 2 forms of treatment. Yeah.
So with your friend who owns O Cosmetics, Maria, if I have a woman, and I have a lot of farming women having a practice in country Victoria. So sometimes women come into my practice and they've never even used a moisturizer in their entire life. They've raised 4 kids. They've never put themselves first. They've looked after a husband, and they get to a point in their lives where they go to the mirror and they don't see the person that they are on the inside. And they think, oh my God, how did this happen? And
so they feel young but look older than what they feel. Yep.
There's a lot of that. So I would start them on a very small dose of anti-wrinkle injections, and I would put them on a product like O Cosmetics. I should work for her. I'm promoting her brand.
Well, you will meet with her soon, hopefully.
Yeah, so I will put them on a vitamin C, a vitamin A, a really beautiful hydrating moisturizer, and in 2 weeks they see a remarkable difference if they've never used an active product before.
That's coupled with hydration, good sleep,
of course.
no alcohol.
And I'm encouraging that.
Yep.
I can't control that, but I'm definitely encouraging that. And specifically with my Instagram following, I now have people tagging me in their walks. So I'm starting to get a bit of a following with the walking, and I'm sort of known for that, keeping things healthy movement.
Yep. Yeah. No, I love that about you because you promote all those other self-care rituals, which is really good. And I think we need more practitioners like yourself who looks at the person holistically and not just a lip or a cheek or an eye.
To me, that part's the easy part. I've been working as a nurse injector, since I was 24 years old. So I have practice makes perfect, as I said last night, and I have practiced my art. And I have a good eye and an attention for detail. That part of it, that's a bit of a no-brainer for me.
Right.
But I like to work on empowering women and making them feel good about themselves, and helping them realize it's okay to really want to feel good and look good.
Yes.
They did a study in London a few years ago about why men don't like their wives or partners to get work done. And interestingly enough, the top reason was they felt that they could attract the opposite sex because they would be looking so much better.
Oh, so it's insecurity.
Insecurity, yes.
Okay.
And I hear a lot of that in my practice. So I would say maybe 60 to 70% of my patients do not tell their husbands or partners that they come and see me.
Wow. Okay, that's another issue altogether.
So they wait for their husbands or partners to go on a fishing trip, to get their fillers in case they bruise. So there's a lot of that. I find that sort of they want to do it for themselves, but when they bring it up with their husbands may say things like, "Oh no, you don't need to do that. I like you the way you are." And I think that, to be fair to the men, that reason is because there's just so much bad work that they're noticing.
Yeah, and they're afraid for something to go wrong. So a lot of people that are listening now or watching, they'll be thinking, well, they're seeing it as almost like surgery and something can go wrong. You see some horror stories on YouTube of people with grotesque faces, but that's more plastic surgery, which is invasive. What we're talking about here is non-invasive.
Yes.
And people should not be afraid to try it. And if it makes them look better and then consequently they start feeling better about themselves, then it builds confidence, and then suddenly all parts of their life starts turning around.
Yes.
They're more comfortable in their skin around their friends, they're better at work because they feel more confident. It's like exercising, right? And it's like going, for people who are anti this, do you go to the dentist?
Yes.
Do you go to the hairdresser? Because if you want to be true to that line, then you wouldn't have any intervention.
No.
Which is, of course, nonsense, right? Nonsensical, really.
Having your grey hairs done, any kind of maintenance like that, is just part of the beauty process. And this is no different.
Yeah, I love that because it is not just about, slowing down aging, but giving you the chance to adapt emotionally to that process. Because it can really floor someone when they if they go through a period of 6 months of stress or hormone imbalance, and it accelerates their age, then suddenly they're caught in this negative loop where they feel bad, look bad, feel bad, look bad, and it accelerates their aging. So if intervention like this, which is non-invasive, can it's like the reset button and say, hey, remember, you are beautiful, right? You are going to age, but you want to age as slow as possible.
Yes.
So your age, if you like, your physical age then is as slow as your mental age, because we live in an era now where people don't feel their age.
No.
But they look their age.
Yes.
And we need to slow the look down so the feelings and the physical appearance grow older together. Does that make sense?
Yeah. It does. And I think for me, because I had such a strong background in plastic surgery, and I mean, when I got that dream job, I mean, Dr. Brian Mendelsohn is a world-renowned plastic surgeon.
Yes.
So he is sort of the godfather of the lower facelift, so to speak. So when I worked there, I was quite shocked that it was really all walks of life having these very invasive procedures, which is a facelift or a rhinoplasty or an upper lid surgery. What shocked me the most, though, I think, was women who had been through significant grief and trauma.
Right.
Burying a child, or having, one of their child, is killed in a car accident, or and coming in, and but the aging process from something so life changing, and then them coming in, and then we would follow them over the year, because when someone has something like that, we meet them at that first appointment and we take all of their preoperative photographs. But there's so many. We follow them basically for 12 months post, and we really get to know them, and it really showed me not to judge people for wanting to make themselves feel better and look better.
Absolutely. So really the approach to this is all about aging, I guess, and the parallels with beauty. And I guess the approach is multifactorial, isn't it? It's psychology. It can be hypnotherapy as well, because if you've suffered a trauma, I recently tried hypnotherapy for an injury that just wasn't recovering.
Yes.
And there's physical trauma as well when you get injured, and hypnotherapy was a game changer. It was incredible. And we've had Lynn McPherson on this show as well, who's in the top 3 hypnotherapists. What you just said reminded me of the advice that we should be giving people is also, look at any emotional traumas that you've had. And sometimes people have had emotional traumas that they think, well, this shouldn't be a trauma. I don't know why this has impacted me so much. It doesn't impact Fred or Sally, but so I must be, highly sensitive, get over it.
Yes.
But one person's, for one event could be a trauma for one person, another person just brushes it off.
Exactly.
So if it's a trauma to you, then it's a trauma to you, and you need to get it, looked at, in consultation with, multiple approaches.
Absolutely.
So skin, diet, psychology, hypnotherapy, and you owe it to yourself really to try everything and never, ever, ever quit on yourself.
No, that's right.
Yeah.
And be your own best friend.
Yeah, absolutely. I laugh because I think last night I said something like, I love me,
you did say that.
I often say that, someone recently asked me in an interview, where do you want to be 5 years from now? And I said, exactly where I am now, because I just love my life as it is now. And I'm starting to learn though that as your skin ages, right? That this is an area you need to look at.
Yes.
You can't ignore.
No.
Because it can sneak up on you.
Yeah.
And it's something that people should take seriously and take preemptive measures. So, go get your skin analysed by, a beautician. And we talked about that with Maria from Cosmetics. And look at the pigmentation, look at these early lines, they give you a clue. Like when I was younger, it was the thing to frown, right? So lines here look really cool because, in the 90s, the guys all had this, the look I'm talking about.
Yeah, of course, the Al Pacino kind of sultry, moody look, Johnny Depp.
Chuck Bass.
Yes, Chuck Bass.
He was always, looking
very
at
moody. Yeah, men are allowed to. They get away with it. Unfortunately, there's just a little bit more pressure on women to not age.
Why is that? Why is there?
Just, I think, with social media and Hollywood, it's just always been that way. Men are sort of celebrated for their grey hair and their lines and their ruggedness, where women, it's always this chasing beauty all the time. Specifically when they show photos of, say, J-Lo's just turned 51 and she's, rocking the Super Bowl stage in a G-string leotard. Well, that's not all 51-year-olds, but there's always this more of a, women seem to feel that pressure, I think.
So social media.
Yeah.
Okay, but there are warriors like yourself on social media who are fighting that.
Yeah.
As well, and giving the message of, love yourself,
Yeah.
look within,
Yes.
go for nature walks, do all that sort of stuff.
And get into your heart.
What is it? What do you mean by saying that? Getting into your heart.
Well, it's about loving yourself.
Right.
Because the opposite of fear is love. So we need to, come from that place of love, and that includes, being about yourself.
Okay. Now I love that. Let's stay on that, because a lot of people will eat well.
Yes.
Will exercise because they fear.
Yes.
Something.
Yes.
But we need to flip it, don't we? We need to do things out of love for self rather than fear of getting diabetes or fear of, do you know what I'm talking about? Everyone seems to be doing stuff out of fear. So if you're listening or watching right now, you got to look at your motives as to why you are doing this. If you're going for a jog in the morning or communing with nature just by going for a long walk, don't do it because you fear getting something. Do it because your body loves you and you have this inner intelligence that loves you so much, and it just wants you to take care of this gift that is your body, that is given to you at birth. So I really love what you said there. I think that's a really big takeaway.
In terms of fitness, I see fitness as a celebration of the body, of what the body can do. I don't say, oh, I've got to go and do that because, I want to wear that smaller size jeans. I really, and even with food, I never feel like when I say no to the dessert, I never feel like I'm missing out. I feel proud that I'm taking care of myself.
Yeah, so it's out of love for your body.
Yeah. So, and we're all human. We all like a bit of chocolate or something now and again.
Yes.
But
85%.
85%. I'm not a sweet tooth at all. I do love bread though. I have to say I'm a big carb lover. So
oh, really?
I try not to buy it.
Yes, that's the key. You can't eat what you don't buy.
That's right.
So did you enjoy dessert last night?
The berries, incredible. My favorite. It was delicious. Yes, so thank you.
I knew Alex was coming, and I thought, and I know Joseph is pretty healthy as well. He's gluten-free.
Oh, is he really?
Yes. Yeah. So I wanted to make a dessert, and it was blueberries, raspberries, strawberries.
Oh, it's delicious. Blackberries, incredible.
And then, but it wasn't enough. So I went scrummaging around for chocolate, and Alex goes, I'll have chocolate. And I thought, yes, someone on my side, because everyone said no. But it has to be 85%, she says.
It was pretty bitter, I have to say. Yeah, but it was lovely. So thank you.
And it was a pleasure. So we talked about the emotional aspects. Is there anything more you want to share with young ladies about the emotional aspects? I know we've spoken about it, but I feel like we really need to talk about information which would become a circuit breaker. Again, my lens is my 17-year-old daughter, because I'm deeply concerned about, how she views, her face and why she's doing this, why she's like, there are a lot of her teenage friends are the same. They just say, I need to have that chocolate cookie, that chocolate cake. And then they break out the next morning and they're in tears. And then it's that time of the month. And then they're like dumping on themselves. Then there's guilt overlaid with
a lot of guilt.
Right, with that. And the importance of, I have to look beautiful because that's who I am. I'm only going to get a value in life. My only value in life is to look beautiful. That's just so dangerous.
It is dangerous.
How do we break that?
It's very hard.
Circuit,
and you're looking at the girls that they're looking at are Bella and Gigi Hadid, who are very famous supermodels. They're looking at the Kardashians. And I sort of touched on this last night. These women live in Beverly Hills. They have unlimited income. This is not just injectables. This is surgical intervention from a young age. So for your daughter and her friends, they look at these women and they think, I want that. That's what I want. And, they can see the transformation is so significant that they feel that can be achieved with a non-invasive procedure.
But how can we get them not to want that? I mean, how can we get them to say, well, I want to be a doctor that helps someone. I want to be a beautician that helps someone. I want to be a nurse. I want to be a lawyer. And that's where my value comes from.
Yes.
I want to be a journalist, expose the truth and fight for justice. We need more women that are empowered and motivated by those things.
We do.
Because I feel like we've come a long way, but we haven't.
No, we haven't.
Does that make sense?
We
talk about it.
Yes. And I get emails. I kind of red flag girls very quickly because I'll get a message on Instagram or an email and they say, yeah, I'm coming in and I want lips, cheeks, jawlines, chin. I mean, I haven't even met this girl yet. And I can already tell from what they're requesting that, wow, this girl she would not need any of that. But she wants it to feel good about herself. So she doesn't feel good about herself from the outset.
To fill an emotional void.
Yeah. Like buying, we didn't have these options when I was, a young woman. We didn't even have eyelash extensions.
Yeah, that's right.
We had nails and a bit of hair color.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like what these girls have available to them now is, there's so many options.
So what do you say to parents then?
Well, I think
what can parents do?
It's really hard, because, girls are booking in for a breast augmentation for their 16th birthday now. The surgery.
What is that?
Like to get
implants.
To get implants. So, and that's very, very common, and has been for quite a number of years. So it's working on girls' self-esteem and getting them to live in the present and to be happy with now. And as you said, caring about others and being of service to others. Yeah,
well, that's what I thought we'd touch on, because you've mentioned a lot of things that you do that are great messages, like gratitude, self-love, and but let's turn to that sense of making a contribution. If they find value in the contribution they make to others, I think so. You need to get out of yourself.
Yes.
Right?
Absolutely.
Stop focus on yourself. There's others in this world that you need to help. I'm just wondering whether that is the message, and how do we get them to do that? There's just incredible pressure now,
Incredible pressure.
To get great marks, look beautiful, and always look beautiful. It's like you can't have a down day.
No. And it should be the most amazing time of their life. And I see so many young women just so unhappy.
And I can tell you from a boy's point of view, boys don't really like it.
No, they don't.
They want, generally speaking, the guys that I talk to, they just want a real person that they can be friends with and hang out with, and, even have a pizza with.
Yes, I know, without the 5,000 selfies and there's just such this world that we're living in now that everything has to be documented, and I have to get the angle and I have to get this, and don't post a photo of me until I filtered it. I'm guilty of it too. I mean, we're living our lives on Instagram. But it seems that the younger women are not learning to appreciate themselves quick enough.
Yeah. So if you're listening, I guess, make the conscious decision to remind your daughter or son, for that matter, that their value isn't just in the way they look. Their value is in what they do for others and how they help others. And so I think if our lens is always, well, how can I help the other person? Look, I'm saying this not as a cliche. I'm saying this because of what I witnessed in my own organisation. In 2010, after the global financial crisis, people started working out of fear of losing their job.
Sure.
And they stopped working out of love, so I reminded everyone that they can't do what they love. We can't always do what we love, right? I wanted to be a racing car driver when I was young. I wanted to be a musician when I was young. But I ended up doing law, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. We all can't be, a Tom Ford or a Beyonce or a Steve Jobs. So someone has to sweep the hardware floor,
Of
someone has to be
course.
the cashier at Woolworths, right? But the key is to love your job. There is a difference between doing what you love and loving what you do. And I think this is important
Yes.
for, I think this is really related
Mm-hmm.
to the issue of, how you're so, inward looking that you're always concerned about how you look. And you've got this problem is if someone takes a photo of you in a group, and when they show it to you, the first person you look at is yourself rather than everyone else.
Mm-hmm.
If you do that, then you have a problem, I think, because self-centeredness is the opposite extreme from having a giving nature, feeling like you're making a contribution, an impact on this world. So when we made that shift internally at MSA National,
Mm-hmm.
we were fourth in our industry,
Mm-hmm.
and we quickly climbed to number one because I taught the team that we need to choose to love what we do. And there's three elements to loving what you do. One is to be so good at your job, because competence builds confidence, and it's human nature to start to like what you're really good at. So you might be in a job that isn't, your dream job, like Alex's, right? There are some people that are lawyers that wanted to be actors,
Mm-hmm.
but it does not mean that it gives you the permission to, dump on your work. You can choose to love it, and the way to love it is to be really good at it. The second element, which is what we're talking about, is to focus on the contribution you're making.
Yes.
You mentioned gratitude, but I
Yes.
think the other side, this is gratitude, the other side of that coin is giving.
Yes.
There are some people that find it difficult to be grateful for the things in their life, and they're often people that have had traumas, that have lost children, or an arm, or a leg, or a kidney, or whatever, and they find it difficult to be grateful because they'll say to me, Sam, well, what can I be grateful for? Life's been horrible to me. I say, well, you know what? If you have trouble being grateful, then go to giving.
Yes.
Because when you're giving, it's the long way home, but for some people, it's the only way. Giving means really focusing on helping the next person that you come into contact with. If you're lucky enough to have a job where you're making a contribution, then that can be your sense of contribution. And I promise you, if you go to that area, if you go to the Tree of Charities, we call it a higher branch, then that is, I think that's the short circuit.
Yes.
You remember how, Brad Pitt's former wife, what was her name?
Angelina Jolie, yeah.
Yeah, so remember how she went to Syria and started doing all that work?
Yes.
Why?
Giving.
You got to ask yourself, here's a billionaire, a multi-millionaires, right?
Yeah.
Who looked to, and she wore no makeup and she was just giving.
Yes.
And I think that is really the antidote to this.
I have goosebumps. And I think that's so important. I mean, I am very fortunate that I've found something that I love to do and that I'm very good at. That's what I meant before when I said, the injection part of it, that's just the no-brainer for me. But the sharing and that moment I get with those women in my room, that I can help them understand how to have a better life and really hear them on their level, is what I love about what I do.
Yeah, it's
because I really feel like I can empower them.
Can you tell us some stories of, without mentioning names, like what are the...
it's just a confidence building thing. I hear some terrible stories and some heartbreaking stories, and women that, their husband may have left them and they're sort of feeling, not confident and unloved and unappreciated and very invisible. And specifically women that are middle-aged. Yeah. But I also, as I said, I meet the younger women who are saying things like, they have the controlling boyfriend, and, I see myself in them as a young woman, and I try and encourage them, well, you can get a new boyfriend. I make a bit of a joke, and, and just to try and give those small little tips for self-esteem.
Yes. So have you had any major transformations from some people? Can you tell us what they did?
Well, I've had some amazing, stories of women that I've I've attracted quite a few women that have come to me with problems with alcohol.
Okay.
And they've seen my sort of story on social media, and they've come for injections, but they really wanted to come and talk and tell me some of the things that have led them to want to be sober.
Yeah.
So, seeing, that sort of transformation has been, very encouraging. And I'm very blessed to be in that position that I can help.
Yeah, it must make you feel good.
It does.
To do that.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, because as a lawyer, what we do, we never get to meet the customers face to face, because our clients are the banks and their customers are sort of de facto our customers, but we never get to see them.
Sure.
So we're doing paperwork to facilitate them buying a home, but we never actually, have that human interaction. Mm-hmm. So I envy people who have, like the hairdresser who can just transform someone and they walk out feeling so good.
It's the best.
Yeah.
But even, if I've done, a more significant transformation from an aesthetic point of view, and when you hand that woman the mirror and they're so happy with what they see, that's my moment. And I'm so proud that I got to be a part of that.
Have you transformed someone so much that they've, say, look 10, 15 years younger?
With the combination of skin as well. Yeah, they've looked,
So it's achievable?
Definitely 5 years younger, for sure.
5 years. I'll take 5 years younger.
But not just that, making someone more aesthetically pleasing to the eye. Because when we see a human down the street, we sort of scan them over a 3-second. It's like, are they hot or are they not? Like we just innately, we do that as human beings.
Absolutely.
And to make someone more attractive and to give them that confidence, it's a good feeling.
I bet it is. Yeah. So tell us a little bit about what your journey looks like going forward.
I've got some exciting things happening right now. I'm working on 2 product lines, which I can't.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay, yep.
So one's not that far from being rolled out, so I can't speak about it yet. So that's been really interesting.
What sort of products are you talking about?
Beauty products.
Okay. Yep.
And
makeup, skincare.
Yes. So down that line. And working with a coach in America at the moment, business coach. So I'm scaling my business as well. So that's exciting. COVID's made it a little bit more difficult. We've sort of had to put the brakes on a few things.
Yes.
However, once the world is turning again, we'll get that moving.
And it allows you to work on these things, on new business development opportunities. Yep.
Yeah. And from a spiritual point of view, I'm really exploring more meditation. So my meditations are getting a lot deeper and a lot stronger. I had studied meditation with a Hindu priestess in Bali, so I plan to go back and do more work with her.
Is that something you recommend for everyone? Daily
meditation? Absolutely.
Because it is hard. It's to stick to it.
I never thought I would be able to do it.
Yeah.
I have a very active mind and I'm a very busy person.
Yeah.
I just look forward to it so much, just to have that stillness. It's really important for me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, because there was some research that we talked about in my interview with Tom Sullivan, who's our meditation coach on the faculty. And there's research that shows that people who meditate, I forget the number of years, but can make themselves look 7 to 14 years younger.
He is a testament of that. He looks very young.
Well, I still don't know what Tom's age is. I mean, he could look 21 or...
I met him when I was walking into your conference, and he was about to go on stage because I was late. I'd flown in from Melbourne, and he was sort of sitting very still. He looked very nervous, and I'd been reading the program in the taxi. So when I walked in, I was all dressed up and I was doing the hair flick, and I was like, "Oh, Tom!" And he was just so shocked.
Because you knew him from the program. Yeah,
and it was like he was like, "Do I know this woman?" And I sort of snapped him out of that, because that nervousness.
Yes.
He was
probably was a good thing.
It was probably a good thing. So just at that moment, I found my seat, and then he came in.
Yes.
And he led us in the most beautiful meditation.
It was. Yeah, it was surreal.
It was so amazing to do that as I arrived, because, you know, you're in a bit of a state when you're arriving from an airport.
Yes.
And that was my introduction to your conference. And it was just such a wonderful weekend. So thank you.
No, you're welcome. So what did you think of the
Oh my gosh. Well, obviously, well, not obviously, but I went for David Goggins.
Yes.
I love David Goggins, and I've read his book, and I've listened to his audio book, and I think I've listened to him on most of the podcasts he's done.
Yes.
And, you know, I know the story very well, and it was very emotional seeing him. And I think about him. I just went straight to when he was 8.
Yes.
And I get very emotional because I have sons.
Yes.
And I have 3 sons. So I always get very emotional around him. So, but it was the other speakers that I was just completely blown away. You know, Carl, Honore, Dr. Jen Mann, the gentleman that spoke on how to mend a broken heart.
Oh, Dr. Guy Winch.
Oh my gosh. It was the content. It was one of my favorite weekends I've ever had.
Could you relate to that? Because you've gone through 2 divorces.
I have, yes, I have. And I'm very fortunate that I have very good relationships with both my ex-husbands. And we've worked very hard for that. I was not a healed person in either of those marriages. And it wasn't until I started working on myself that I became, you know, my next relationship, I will be bringing a lot more to the table.
Would you get married again?
I would, yes.
You would?
Yes.
Would you highly recommend marriage?
I think
to a single person listening.
To a single person.
Or a person contemplating divorce.
I think it's a beautiful union.
Yeah.
I think that, you know, if you can both live your lives together, I think it's when you try and enmesh your lives too much that problems happen. You live in each other's pockets. But to live with your partner and to share your life with someone, I think that's really beautiful.
Yeah, well said. So as a lawyer, I did family law for a few years, and I became very cynical about it. So my question is, do you think relationships have an expiry date? And is there anything wrong with that? Because
I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I believe that some people are for a season. Yeah. And I'm very grateful for the lessons I learned. Both my ex-husbands are very good people. And, you know, unfortunately it didn't work out. But I don't think that there's anything wrong if the relationship is no longer serving either of you. I don't think there's anything wrong to moving on.
Yeah, because I'm wondering, like, I think, and we're talking about the tree of love here. And as a family lawyer, I saw a lot of people, I saw divorce as inevitable for some, but what I found tragic was the conflict in that, and I thought that was avoidable if we started reprogramming, you know, the concept of marriage as a till death do us part. Whereas I know this is a cynical way to look at it, but I think it's a refreshing way to look at it, and that is, well, you know, until we're both happy, you know, in this relationship, and there's nothing wrong for, you know, things to take their course. If it lasts forever, then that's the expiry date on that relationship. Sure. But if it lasts 5 years, then you should be grateful for that 5 years.
Definitely.
And, you know, the beautiful, you know, relationship you've, you know, developed. This is something that Dr. Jen Mann and I have had numerous discussions on. And that's her view.
Yes.
Thinking, well, if people looked at it like that, then they'd be better in a relationship. Yeah. And ironically, it would make them last longer.
Yeah.
Maybe forever.
I agree. I really do.
Yeah.
I think, and I found her take on even parenting just so incredible.
Yes.
You know, I learnt a lot on that weekend.
Oh, wonderful.
And I was not expecting to.
Yes. Oh,
so
that's good.
It was well done to you. It was an incredible event.
Oh, well done to the team and the people behind these cameras. I have an incredible team. And
you do.
Yes. And unfortunately, Upgrade Your Life 2021 has been postponed to 2022.
Yeah.
Now, our theme for 2022 was or is going to be forever young.
Yeah, wow.
Well, it was supposed to be for 2021 because, once we finished this particular event, we said 2021, what came to me was, if I was 21 again, what would I do different? And could I be 21 forever? I know mentally you can be. And then how do we slow down the body's aging, face aging, to feel 21, forever and look 21 forever. And it's an arm wrestle I've had with Carl, who said, no, it's not about staying young forever. It's just about owning, that. So it's going to be an interesting event, and who knows, we might have something on
I hope so.
face aging. Well, we plan the event is going to be a different format.
Right.
So we're going to have stage and breakout.
Yeah, wow.
So it may be that, we'll have speakers up on stage for a 20-minute TED-like format, but then the breakout sessions will be, for example, go get your face analysed.
Amazing.
Go have a heart check with Dr. Jason Kaplan. So we're going to be doing a lot of these exciting things.
And you'll have Australia's favourite injector, Victoria, with you.
Yes, of course. Yes. Well, our focus, our focus is going to be on Australian talent.
Sure.
I do believe that we have a lot of amazing talent in Australia, and
we do,
but they're not given the same voice as the Americans.
No.
The Americans, they really have a very clever ways of spinning things,
sure.
and they make their experts look so amazing.
They sound amazing.
And Aussies, we can have the world's best surgeon, but
sure.
if you meet that person, it's like, oh yeah, it's just stuff what I do, right? Let's have a beer now and watch the footy. Whereas, you know what I mean? We're very casual about things, which gives the impression that we may not be as good as the Americans, but you know what? Good. We're very good at what we do.
Especially
without fanfare.
Without the fanfare. From a non-surgical perspective, I do travel a lot.
Yeah.
And I have good friends in Beverly Hills and Santa Monica who are quite famous plastic surgeons. And I have a very good friend in London who I go and visit with and train in Harley Street. And I make it a point to, wherever I'm visiting in the world, to seek out the best and go and spend time with them. And what I've learned is that Australians are very good at what we do.
Absolutely.
And I'm not saying that they're not, but we are definitely, we can give them a run for their money.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, definitely. And that's becoming apparent now more and more.
Yes.
As the rest of the world looks on. I mean, you have, athletes coming from England or America to surgeons in Australia these days.
Yes, absolutely.
I mean, Dr. Joseph Hakiki has his clients coming from all over the world. In fact, 50% of his client base comes from overseas. A lot of famous celebrities and actors who shall remain nameless.
Yeah, I have a lady that flies to me from Hawaii.
Yes, there you go.
She just likes the way I treat her face.
Yes.
And she trusts me.
And the way you treat her heart, no doubt, as well.
Yes, that's very true.
Well, it's been really lovely having you. We've learnt a lot. I certainly have learnt a lot. And I really love your approach to beauty, being on the inside and out, and the fact that you're the epitome of that. You not only look beautiful, but you are beautiful on the inside because of your contribution that you make, not just to your clients, but to your 3 beautiful boys. So congratulations on being an amazing human.
Thank you so much for having me today.
It's a pleasure. Okay, well, that wraps up our 3-part series on beauty and face aging. Until next time, if you have any questions, by all means, do email us your questions. We are going to be in regular contact with Alex. And if people want to reach out to Alex on Instagram, your handle is?
Miss Alex Pike.
Okay, and your clinic?
Is Suite 2 Clinic.
So Suite 2 is S-U-I-T-E?
Yes, 2, number 2.
And number 2, not the word 2.
Yes.
Awesome. Until next time, live consciously, my friends.